Hi, I'm Lisa from Backpack and Boots, and today I'm going to talk about what to bring in your backpack if you're coming on a multi-day hike with me. This is essentially a beginner's guide, so if you want to come on a multi-day hike and you've never done it before, this is going to give you a good idea of what to look for, some hints and tips, and how to sort of get thinking about what kind of kit you might want to get to bring with you. So the backpack is quite a key piece of kit if you're doing an overnighter. You can get away with a 50 litre, which is what this one is. I don't know if you can see there. But some people might go for a 65 litre so they can fit all their kit in and have a bit of extra space. Quicker to pack as well because you haven't got to pack so strategically. But I've just shoved everything in my 50 litre here. This is the Osprey Talon. You can get cheaper versions. There's some great outdoor shops where, like Decathlon for example, where you can pick up cheaper versions if you're just starting out. If you're just trying your first overnight hike, you could try it out before you invest in something a bit more expensive. This one's great because it's got stretchy panels in the front, so it's got easy place to like pop your waterproofs in. So I've got waterproof trousers there, so if it starts raining you can grab them quick. It's got bottle holders on each side, so I usually stick a litre bottle each side. Holding my water. I've got my tent in there. I've got all my cooking stuff, my food, my spare thermal, spare jumper. In the top of the pack there's a zip bit here, so you can put spare gloves and other bits you might want to access quickly. And there's another pocket on the inside where I've got things like tea bags and my food and stuff all here, like snacks, so easy access for that. You also probably in this top bit would pop your waterproof cover on. Yeah, and then it's also got a section at the bottom, so that's where I put the sleeping bag and sleeping bits and bobs, and there's like attachments here if you wanted to put an extra roll mat if it's going to be particularly cold and you wanted an extra insulation under you at night. So this is female fit. You can get different versions. Obviously females aren't as broad as males, so it'll be a slightly different fit to the bag. And the air escape back, so there's ventilation on your back there, because obviously you can get quite hot and sweaty carrying your kit. You also have these pockets on the waistband where they're great to put your phone in, or tissues or bits and bobs that you need, lip balm, while you're hiking along. So all sort of easy access. So it's worth sort of thinking about how you're going to pack the backpack to what you need to get out first. I usually always put my sleeping bag at the bottom. I can access that all separately, and my main kit's sort of in the middle here with my tent. Talking about tents, if you're doing an overnight hike where we've got to carry our kit, obviously you're going to have to carry a tent. This is going to be probably your heaviest piece of kit. Now, if you're prepared to invest lots of money and think you're going to do it a lot, then the MSR tent is brilliant. That's 1.5 kg. Obviously, when you pack it in your backpack, you take the poles out. It has one pole system. I'll do another video to sort of demonstrate this tent. You just slide the poles in your bag, and then you just squash this down really small and sort of compress it in the sack to fit it in your bag. So that's a brilliant option, but you need £300 plus for that tent. So I found a brilliant budget option. I've tested this on the top of a mountain for a wild camp. This is a Eurohike Tamar 2. You can pick this tent up for about £35. It's 2.7 kilograms. So that's really, really lightweight. It's a dome tent. So if you're new to setting up tents, you can't really go wrong. It's going to make it quite taut. You're not going to end up with any sagging or anything because it's going to be quite firm. You pitch the outer first and then the inner, so that's great if it's raining. Whereas actually the more expensive tent, it's inner first and then outer. So in the rain, your inner's going to get a little bit wet. But this is great. And again, you take the poles out and put those separately in your bag and then squash down the tent to fit in. But that's a great starter tent if you're just getting into it, want to see if you like it. Obviously you can upgrade at a later date or just use this until it dies. Right, so let's talk sleeping bags. I have a 4-season sleeping bag. I'd say this is probably a budget option. I paid about £100 for it. It's OEX Evolution sleeping bag. It's hydrophobic, I think that's how you say it, hydrophobic, and it says that it goes down to extreme -38, so that's definitely a winter sleeping bag. I always really look at the comfort level for when it's really going to keep you warm, and this is down to -9, so it is winter. As I say, it's quite big and it squashes right down. It comes with like a compression sack. If you're using a 50 litre backpack For an overnight though, it's probably not big enough to fit something like this in. Even more of a budget option would be just a mountain warehouse. I mean, this is compressed down. Microlight, this is a 2-3 season sleeping bag. You can pick them up for about £30. They don't take up too much room in your backpack and they're only 900 grams. So I think the comfort level on this is 6 to 11 degrees. So definitely more of a summer bag really, I would say, for that one. So you might want somewhere in between if you're camping in April, maybe 3 season. This one is 1,300 grams. I always think about the weight because you want your bag to be as light as possible. The next bit of kit would be a sleeping mat. Now you can buy them, it's about the size of a 500ml water bottle. This is just one that's like £20 off Amazon. You just blow it up and it's a thin inflatable mat. Also, I would use a pillow. You don't need to. Some people just use their jumpers and they use a dry bag and just stick their jumpers in and make it into a pillow. But I use this little blow up pillow. It's a Trekology one. It's really comfy and it just goes into a tiny little bag, so it doesn't take any space up at all, just for a bit of extra comfort. Another great piece of kit, about £2 on Amazon, a thermal sitting mat. Doesn't weigh anything, it's like as light as a feather. I use it for day hikes. Sit down, keep your bum dry, and when it's really cold, it also keeps your bum a bit warmer. Obviously, if you're doing an overnight camp, it gives you something to sit on that's going to keep you dry and warm as well when you're outside, maybe sitting around the campfire or something. So something I'd recommend is dry bags inside your backpack. So if it rains, you're ensuring that all of your stuff stays dry. You don't have to use dry bags, you could just use bin liners. This is the more expensive option, plus it will add a little bit of extra weight to your backpack. I always have a head torch on me and spare batteries, really essential for finding your way around in the dark. Right, now all about food. If we're carrying all our kit, I would either bring adventure food, I haven't got an example to show now, or things like mug shots. So I really like the macaroni cheese mug shot where you can just add hot water to it. So you might want a couple of those because you obviously want high calories if you've been burning a lot of calories in the day. The adventure food that you can buy at any of the outdoors stores will usually give you at least 600 calories in one meal. If you're walking 8 to 10 miles, you might burn 1,000 calories off. So you will need to get those calories back in you that night and want something warm. So most of them you just add hot water to, and you can have anything from curries to pasta dishes, anything, or you can go down the mug shop kind of option. Noodles are really good as well. So just think anything like that that's quite dried and also isn't going to take up too much space in your backpack. Then I usually bring like a really light plastic cup, a bowl, which is it just pops out, and my Cutlery Selection. They're just like super cheap, basic knife, fork and spoon, and they all like attach to each other. So the next item you'll need is a stove to boil your hot water for a cup of tea or your meal later. So I bring a gas canister. You can get them half the size of this. If you're just doing an overnight, you might want a smaller one. I use the Soto Stove. It just comes in a tiny little bag. You just screw it in, attach the clippy bits, and it even ignites itself with a little red button. That stove's about £40 with the igniter. Or you can get a really cheap one. This one's just from, I think I got it in Go Outdoors. Does the same thing, it screws on, but you need to remember to bring some matches. This was about £15 and the Soto one that self-ignites was about £40. So there's a couple of different options there, but obviously the £15 is a great budget option if you're just starting out. Now, how to boil your water. My favourite piece of kit, though it's probably a bit extravagant and not many people use it, is this tiny little kettle. It boils the water really, really quickly. Great if you like hot drinks when you're out, but also good for hot water for your food. With having a lid on means it boils really quickly and efficiently and doesn't waste lots of gas. But you can also buy like these little saucepans. These are just little Eurohike saucepans with a lid, so you can boil your water in there. It's like a cup, and you know, you could potentially eat out of that if you had something like a mug shop as well. So that's like another option. I also have like bigger pans, but they are going to take up quite a lot of room in your backpack. I mean, the thing is with these is you can obviously pack the food you're bringing into that, so your food's all like in one place and held together, but it will take quite a bit of space up. Whereas for an overnight, that's probably much more efficient, or even that, as long as you have the bowl to eat from, because obviously you can't eat out of that. So little things to think about. Another great tip, like if you like a cup of tea or a hot drink, I usually just bring, what are they, like some tea bags, not that many, but I just stick some tea bags in a freezer bag because that doesn't take hardly any space, just a few tea bags. In places like B&M, you can get these mini, like the sachets of UHT milk, so that's quite a handy way of doing milk. Or you could just use like a mini flask or mini sort of chill bottle to put your milk in that you might need overnight. I have done that before as well. This is great if you fancy hot chocolate. Obviously just put a portion of it into like a freezer bag and bring your portions of hot chocolate, so then you can have that little treat at the end of the night. Obviously wouldn't bring the whole tub because it takes loads of space up. Something that I find essential in this day and age is a battery pack. This recharges the phone twice, so it's fine for an overnight. So you obviously want a short charging cable and the charger, so you charge it at home before you go, so that's perfect. I also use it to charge my Garmin if I need to, because I like to record the mileage, so that's really handy. Now, I always have a pack of tissues on me in case you need the loo. Obviously it's leave no trace. I usually have nappy sacks as well, so you always take your rubbish away with you. I have biodegradable wet wipes, which is great for a wet wipe wash because you might not always have showers available where you stop to camp overnight, so that's really handy. And obviously you take everything away with you in your bag. Now, I already mentioned first aid kit. This is really useful. Obviously you'll just want some basic things like plasters. Blister plasters are usually something that's needed sometimes. Also things like tweezers or tick removers, because obviously we have a lot of ticks in the countryside, so it's nice to be able to just have something to get rid of those straight away. I obviously have a lot more in there in a lot more detail, but yeah, a small first aid kit, really useful. Things like hat and gloves, spare hat and gloves are really good. This is a fleece hat, so it's really quick drying, so that's really, I mean, not attractive at all, but really good. If it gets wet, you know you can dry it off really quickly and easily. These are just thin gloves. Obviously in the winter you're might want some thicker ones as well, but it's always useful to have a pair of thin gloves in there, and I usually just stick that in with the first aid kit. And I also have like a spare mask as well. The only thing I haven't mentioned, I obviously mentioned the wet wipes. If you want to have a wash, you would bring a toiletry bag with your toothpaste and toothbrush, and I would just put it in like a freezer bag. And obviously you want your water bottles as well. I tend to use a couple of litre water bottles for the hikes that I do because they're lowland. We usually have water taps along the route, so you don't need to bring water purifiers or anything. Obviously if you're in the mountains it's like a different ball game, so you might have some slightly different kit. And if you're at a campsite where there's showers, you could bring one of these Microlight towels and squeeze it in. They're quite small. This is a Decathlon one, but you can pick those up in most of the outdoor shops. The next thing, just quickly to touch on, are the boots. Make sure you have a comfortable pair of boots, and most importantly that they're waterproof. Quite often if it rains, it could get really, really muddy, and just getting wet feet isn't nice. So trying to keep your feet dry. So a good pair of boots. Now you can get them where they're like material, but they are still like these loafers. They're still very waterproof material loafer. Or you can get them in a leather, like these Scarpas. So they're a bit muddy. But yeah, and comfy with lots of cushioning. And yeah, so look at the material of your boots. Go for waterproof and comfort. If you wear the right socks, if you wear some walking socks with them, you'll find there's extra cushioning under the socks, which can also make a difference. I tend to go for the Bridgedale socks, which you can quite often pick up on special offer, like 2 pairs, but they are quite expensive, but you can get them on special offer, and they can make a difference to the comfort in your boots as well. So that brings me on quite nicely to talk about the clothing. So I would wear sweat wicking fabrics rather than cotton for a long distance hike. Your back might get a bit sweaty carrying a backpack, so you want something that's going to dry off really quickly. So a sports top is ideal. So like a sports type t-shirt, or you can get a specific like hiking t-shirt. So this is like a I got this from Magic Mountain. It's mountain equipment t-shirt, but it's quick drying and sweat wicking, so it's really comfortable. The other thing also for the ladies is I'd wear a sports bra. This is just a basic Marks and Spencer sports bra, but it's much more comfortable with the backpack than a regular bra, and also sweat wicking, which is really important. Trouser wise, definitely not jeans. Jeans can get really cold when they're wet and they take ages to dry. I'd go for lightweight trousers. Like I'm a real fan of the Kiwi Pro 2 stretchy lightweight trousers, to water repellent. You can pick those up in the sale at the moment really cheaply. Obviously, because it's January at the moment, you can get them for about £25, so that's a bargain. But if you don't have those and you don't want to invest in anything, you can just wear sports leggings, obviously like thicker ones if it's winter or lighter ones if it's summer, and they work just as well. It's really just something that's not going to hold all the moisture. You will want to put waterproof trousers over the top. Obviously sports leggings are quite good for that, so that's a pair of waterproof trousers that you can just pull on over your sports leggings if it starts raining, but also that can keep you warm because it keeps the wind out as well. You don't have to spend lots. I mean, I've got trousers that are Montan Terra trousers, which are like £100, but you can get for £25 just as, you know, completely really great starter kind of gear. So I think these were £22 in the sale, so you don't have to spend a fortune to get started. And obviously you'll want a waterproof jacket as well. So you'll really want to go for Pertex or Gore-Tex for your jacket. Now, if it's going to be on the chilly side, these jackets are great. But if you can't afford one of these jackets, I would just pack an extra warm fleece top. The other thing I always have in my backpack, or I wear, is a buff. These are great. So it's just like a tube, like that. So you can wear it like round your head, or you wear it round your neck. So basically you can fill the gap from your coat, stop the wind getting down there if it's getting really chilly. You can put it over your face if it gets really cold, and obviously have your hat on as well. Yeah, so a variety of uses. Or you can even tie it around your wrist and use it to wipe the sweat off your face. Lots of different uses. I could probably even tie my hair up with it. So I love buffs. I use them all the time. They're brilliant. Sun hat, lightweight sun hat. You can pick them up really cheap. They're great, not just for when the sun is out. I use mine when it's raining because it keeps the rain, when it's really coming down, it keeps the rain off your face. So I'm literally an all-weather cap wearer. I'd go for a cap over a bobble hat any day just to keep the weather out my face. And the only time when I switch the bobble hat is if I need to keep my ears warm too, because it's like really cold. But yeah, it's great. Winter sun when it's really bright, this is really good. But yeah, rain visor, love it. And that's super lightweight, so it dries really quickly as well. So I would have one lot of clothes. I'd have a spare t-shirt for the next day, and I would have obviously spare underwear for the next day. I also pack thermals because you never know. So these are like wool thermals. These are Montan, but you can obviously get a variety of thermals. You could just use ski thermals if you've already got some. So I've got a long sleeve thermal top, and I've also got the thermal trousers that I haven't actually worn yet. But again, those are the Montan. I think they were called Janes or something, but yeah. Definitely have spare socks. You might want a couple of spare pairs of socks in your bag just in case, because I just don't like having wet feet, so I definitely have lots of spare socks. And we've already mentioned the hat and gloves. So I think that is everything. I think that just about sums it up. I hope you found that useful, and if you have any questions, drop them in the comments box below.